got?
Pete, Jack Besh is somebody that keeps kind of flashing, especially on third downs. He seems to have a knack for being available in those situations. Is he earning more time in your eyes?
Yeah, he definitely is. He's in the rotation much more so. Yeah, he's done a nice job lately.
What in particular has in terms of growth has he shown?
When the guys are new, they you can see their talent, but they got to get all of their assignments and all of the little things and all the details of stuff. And for the young guys, that's why you play them sparingly as they're bringing them up, and you raise them. Hopefully, like I've said a bunch of times to you guys, you get to the halfway point, they should have their act together. Well, he's an indicator of that. So it's just being really precise is what's hard for the young guys.
Pete, there was a report recently from NFL Network in regards to like this.
I don't even know where this is going, but I'm not sure I like this.
you probably won't. But in terms of the
We can nail it.
disconnect between you and Chip Kelly, how the offense should have been operating when he was here, I was wondering, do you have any comment on those reports about that?
No, I don't know about the reports. I know who I sounded like right there. I don't know about what you're talking about, other than there was some clamor because I said something that came out because it wasn't accurate. And that's Chip's a tremendous football coach, and we got along great and communicated well and all that. We just needed to make a change.
You said, are you doing a right guard yet?
No, we'll get to practice these next couple of days. We'll see what happens. But we're working at it, and we're open to how the competition plays itself out.
I know. In the summer, over the summertime, you mentioned how like you're not afraid to play young players. But I was wondering, as over the course of the season, kind of like what's been the challenge for them to get, I would say, more consistent reps? Is it more like the learning curve been a little bit steeper than you guys anticipated with some of these guys? Just what's been that challenge?
No, it's up to the competition at the spots, and who they're trying to kind of remove from the playtime or gain some playtime on it. And it just depends on what's happening. And not everybody, it's not a wholesale idea. It's an opportunity to compete, to find your way on the field. And we want to be wide open to it, which we are. And then they got to earn it. And so that's basically what it is. And some guys come along faster than others, or other guys maybe play better at their spots because they feel the pressure of it, which is kind of the whole idea.
What have you seen from Alex Kappa now that he got a little bit more burn at the center spot?
He handled it really well for the few times that he's been able to play the spot in his past. This was like starting over kind of, but he had, because of his background, his experience, his wherewithal, his ability to communicate. He helped us, and so he did a nice job.
The practice week going on this week, is the chance Meredith might be able to work his way back, or?
We're going to see how he does. We're going to let him practice, and we'll see how it goes. So we're hopeful that he'll get to return.
There's an analytics site out there that ranks you guys as the best in terms of fourth down decision making, whether they go for a punt, et cetera, et cetera. Has that evolved in terms of the decision making, what goes into it, the analytics of it all?
Yes, it has. It definitely has over the years, and it helps to have somebody that has a good feel for that. Nate's really good at doing that, and he handles that in connection with the coaches. They're involved in it, but yet they don't have the say. And but we take their input when we can. But that's how we work it out, and we feel pretty clean. I didn't know where we were, but I know we're very comfortable with the process and the situations. We've been through a million of them.
How much of that is predetermined, in terms of if we come across this situation, this is what we're going to do, as opposed to going by your gut when it's
it's how much you say. Well, it depends. We try to get through everything we can think of, and when we can predetermine how we would go, then it's a matter of when the opportunity arises, you capture what the thinking is, and then you go ahead and make the call. And there is some gut situations in here, and for years and years and years, that's how I did it. I did it right from the gut, and now we have a nice group, a nice connection. Ryan Pagnetti helps us in a big way as well, and so I feel like we're really well prepared, and whatever happens, we feel pretty confident about making the choices.
Brock Wayne had 4 targets on Sunday, and I think that's like the second fewest in a game in his career. I was just wondering what led to that. Is that just more of like Geno Smith not having enough time due to being under duress for most of the game? Kind of like what led to the?
There is a few variables in there, and some of the way they played him, and we're always looking for him. Always, we love the way he plays and the plays that he can make. So it's never like we're holding off to throw to somebody else. That's not the way this works, but. Some of it was pressure, and some of it was things that they did. They really committed hard, and it worked out for them better than for us. We would like him to get close to 10 targets a game, and somewhere in there and more. We'll take whatever we can get. He was easily looked at with the thought of targeting maybe a dozen times in the game. So it just didn't work out.
Where does that catch rank for you that he made?
Well, it's a very unique catch. You think about all the great catches that we've seen. So unique that he would catch it off the top of the turf. I thought it was one of the really excellent catches I've seen. And it's because you never see anybody do it like that. Made it special even more so.
You guys run zone at the highest rate in the league. I'm just curious, like philosophically, what is it that you like about zone, and how can it make life tough on a quarterback?
It's mixing your looks as much as you can. Keep changing up so that you can fit guys in different ways. We do a variety of things to do that, and it's just kind of the pattern that we have been really successful at for a long time, and so we like it. But that doesn't mean we don't like playing man to man. We've worked really hard with our corners and our nickels to make sure that they can hold up, and we feel confident in them. I think there's always reason you could do a little bit more man to man stuff, but. And we need to get a third down defense in order, and that will call for us to play more aggressively.
The reason I asked that question is because Bo Nix struggles against zone, and I'm just curious how you guys feel.
Yeah, we need to play a lot more man to man this week.
Greedy bounce up from the practice squad. What has he been showing you guys?
I would think that every time you ask me about Greedy, I feel so positive about his ability. He's got a real knack about making plays, and he's got great confidence. That is what the players have that are willing to take the chances. He's got that, and he's a really good tackler, for a smaller guy. And he's just been obviously a guy who could make a play. And so we've seen it all through camp and in the off season and all of that. So I'm glad that he's one of the guys that's benefiting from the time on task, and we like what he does.
You anticipate Michael Mayer being able to practice this?
We have to wait. It's day to day. We have to wait and see.
Pete, despite the difference in records, you guys played them very tough up in Denver. Does that give you any confidence heading into getting them back here in Vegas now?
It was a really good game, on both sides. Both teams played really tough and played right down to the nub. There was a lot of really good field position things that happened. AJ had a great game. Defense played really well when we had them backed up and got off the field and did some great things there. They had some penalties too in the game. That I'm sure they're going to try to avoid. But it gave us a real shot to play a nose-to-nose defensive ball game, come right down to the last possession. And so we do understand that. We have a lot of respect for their team. Their team has done some remarkable things this year. They've had remarkable games, comebacks and finishes and all of that kind of thing that we really respect. So we know we're up against a really tough opponent, but yet we did match up all right. And so we're looking forward to see if we can take the next step.
I know you mentioned that you were hopeful in terms of Colton Miller returning at some point during the final stretch of the season. Given where you guys are at standings wise, does that impact kind of your decision whether to bring
it doesn't impact mine, no. And the trainers are pushing him as much as they can. He's working as hard as he can to get back, and we'll see what the time frame is. It really doesn't have anything to do with the other aspect of it. Just trying to get him out there.
What makes Nick McKinney so hard to handle on defense? Considering how they use him.
He's explosive. He's really slippery. He's a really good all-around athlete. He's got all the kind of the knack, physically to slip you in, to avoid you, and to race right on past the tackles. And he has a great motor. He really goes. So those guys that like when we see Max play, he plays at such a high level that if a guy just makes a false step or just doesn't quite get off on the cadence, like on Max's sack last week, they take full advantage of it. And so Nick's doing all of that, and he's having a terrific year. I think he's got 50-something pressures or close to 50 pressures, whatever it is. It's amazing.
That's good. Pete, you reportedly gave guidance to Lane Kiffin when his decision to go from Ole Miss to LSU. What was your thoughts on him moving on and taking a new challenge?
You think I'd answer that? I ain't answering that. No, really, in all respect to the question, I don't have any opinion that I'm going to let out about what he did. I mean, I just talked to him the way I knew him. I've known him just about his whole life. So that was just being there for him.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
Thanks. Tell us off the record.
Are you waiting for the? You don't need him, bro. Don't worry about it.
Got the timer.
Denver has a really good defense. You faced them before. What did you maybe learn from them for the first time?
Yeah, they've got a great all-around defense for sure. Great pass rushers, linebackers, and safeties. So Main thing is they're leading the league in sacks, so we got to do a real good job at giving Geno some time, and then us as running backs, tight ends, chipping those DNs, and give them some extra time.
You're always a willing blocker, but how challenging has that been just week in and week out, having these great edge rushers and defenses, having us try to slow them down?
Yeah, no, it's been tough, and I mean, that's kind of the difference. Like, the DNs, some of these guys are, just as explosive as a skill player coming off the ball, and can be shifty and make you miss. But yeah, just really continuing to grow and just attacking it and getting better each week.
Last week you said,
Even with Greg Olsen now being the play caller, a lot of things aren't going to change about the offense. But after a week, after a game, what are some things that you like that were positive in the way he called against in the last game?
Yeah, I think just kind of trying to set, things up throughout the course of the game, whether it's, running a play action off, our run schemes, and then, just setting it up, throughout the course of the game. But also, coming in and we're making adjustments in halftime and, knowing what we're going to come out with and, attacking and trying to execute that.
Yeah, you're not obviously used to losing after being a Boise. When you see someone like Max, who's been here a while, going all out, players like that, what does that do for you as a younger player as far as keeping your head up?
Yeah, I mean, it gives you, all the motivation in the world to, look at a guy like him who's continued to keep going, despite, not having the best, years, with the team in a winning perspective, but also just wanting to keep playing and, fighting for guys like him and, trying to get better so that we can get to some wins.
Ashton, there's just a little over a month left in the season. What are you looking for out of yourself to look back on this rookie season as a personal success for you?
Yeah, just that I look back, watch the film, that, I got better in all aspects of the game, blocking, running the ball, running routes, and, despite the, the record and how things, look, I continue to just work hard and, inspire others around me.
Is there any of those things that you're kind of looking especially to improve on in the last stretch of this season personally?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, just continuing to get better blocking, got to protect the quarterback. I think routes, as well, and then trying to be more effective in the run game for sure.
Talk about running routes. What are some things that you believe you're really starting to master in terms of the nuances of route running and also just being a good pass catcher in general at the running back position?
Yeah, I think just obviously catching and securing that ball and, being able to get yards after the catch, and then, just reading the coverage, whether it's man or zone, because that dictates our routes sometimes.
Prediction for Friday night?
Just go out there and execute, man.
How will you kind of measure how the season was for you? I mean, statistically, obviously, everybody knows the record, but how are you going to be able to judge maybe growth and that sort of thing?
I mean, I don't think statistics always kind of show that. I think it's just more of watching from game to game. Maybe it was a read or a run scheme. I didn't read the best that week, but, this next week we ran it again and I read it better. Or maybe on this route it was zone and I thought it was man and I ran the wrong route. So just continued improvement in that sort of way, but stats don't always show that.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ashton.
Questions? You guys went against this defense just a couple weeks ago. What did you maybe learn from that game and take away from playing a really good defense like them that you can take into this one?
Yeah, they're pretty stout up front. They obviously, the amount of sacks they got on the year and just overall where they rank, really good defense. They got players on every level. They play sound, they play together. I thought we fared pretty well against them. Obviously, moved the ball decently but didn't score enough points in our previous game. And so that's the challenge for this week. How many points can we score? How can we find ways to stay on the field, help our defense out, move the ball, and obviously finish in the red zone.
How did you feel on the field working with Greg Olsen last week?
Felt pretty good. Obviously, there's things that we can get better at. We all can. But I thought Ole did a phenomenal job at, trying his best to put us in position to make plays. And, he's a coordinator who's done it before in this league, and he knows what he's doing. So I think this week will be even more improvement.
Geno, do you feel like there's been a few missed opportunities with Trey Tucker down the field where it looks like he's got to step on the defense, and that's something that could be capitalized on?
Yeah, we want to hit our shots for sure. Whether it's Trey or whoever else is downfield, we want to hit our shots. And, we definitely got to capitalize on those when we get chances.
Geno, I was wondering, at this stage of the season, the way this season has gone for you guys in particular, I was wondering, do you yourself kind of like think about the future of your future here? Like, where does your mind go when you're at this point?
My future is, what God's right for me. I'll focus on the day-to-day and getting better every single day as a player. That's all you can do as an NFL player. You can never look too far ahead or even too far behind. The whole your future thing, I got a bright future. I know that for sure. But, as far as, what I have to do here is lead this team and focus on, today's practice and how we can execute and get better, prepare ourselves to go up against a tough team on Sunday.
A study that came out yesterday about those analytics base that said you guys have been really good at making fourth down decisions, going at the right times. That Pete has done that really well this year. What does it mean to you that he has faith in you guys to go out and perform on a fourth down situation?
That's Coach, man. Coach is a Hall of Famer, one of the best coaches of all time. And I think he knows what he's doing. I know he knows what he's doing. He's done it for a long time, a lot longer than I have, a lot longer than I've been living. He understands the game completely in its entirety. And, he usually makes the right decisions. No one's perfect, but I think for the most part, he's got a really good handle on things.
He said he himself has learned over the years, like maybe early in his career, it was like, hey, it's just a gut. Now he's learned, like, oh, there's math involved that really matters. Like, have you seen a progression in him at all?
I'm not really in those talks. I kind of just try to execute the plays, and, he lets me know, hey, this may be a four-down situation based on, where we are in the game or, field position, those type of things. But, he's got, control of that. I just try to, run the plays.
How challenging has it been working with the offensive line that continues to different parts come in and out due to injury or just poor play or whatever, and just a lot of different guys in different roles?
I mean, that's the situation, and, I try my best to go out there and make it happen no matter, who's out there. Obviously, we lost Colton early in the year. He's a big part of our offensive line, but I thought, guys have stepped up and done their best to, make it work. And the coaches, they control, a lot of that stuff. But, for me, I've got to lead the troops, lead the guys that are on the field. And obviously with O-line, you want that continuity. You want guys to be able to play alongside each other for, a long time. But, that hasn't been the case. And so there's no crying about it. You got to go out there and make it happen.
What about Cap at the center position? He got to start last week.
Man, I love Cap at the center. It's my first time working with him, and he jumped right in. He's a super smart player. He's been in this league a long time. He knows what to do, and he does a great job at leading the guys as well. So Cap's been doing a great job, and we've all got to help him as well.
Greg Olson's obviously called plays before, but I'm just curious, like, given the timing of it all, him being thrown there as a coordinator and everything like that, do you have more agency at the line to kind of change things and stuff than maybe you did before, just given the change in the middle of the year?
Yeah, I mean, like, this question's been asked to me a few times. You don't just go up there and start changing plays. There has to be a rhyme or reason. We've got to practice it. You can't just go out there and just flip the script because no one will be on the same page at that point. Which is what we need. But, he gives me a lot of, ability to get to different plays at the line of scrimmage, but it's all based within the game plan. And so I try to do the right things according to what we've practiced and what, obviously the guys can handle.
Coach has said a lot, like, it just feels like a good thing is about to happen, and that the team has, it's always felt like it's about to turn the corner. At least offensively speaking, how do you feel that way for the last month of the season?
I always feel that way. I always feel, we're very optimistic. Coach is very optimistic. I am myself as well. I always feel like something great is right around the corner, and, it's all a process, man. Like, I've gone through this so many times in my career where you have these ups and downs in the league, and 1 minute they love you, 1 minute they hate you. You can never focus on that. You got to focus on the day-to-day process. And if you believe in yourself as a player, if you know who you are as a player, eventually you come out on the right side of it. So I've always had this ability to kind of block out the noise and just stay focused on what's in front of me. And, that's the way Coach is as well. And so we all believe that, if we continue with this process, which we're working hard, extremely hard, great things are going to happen. So I believe that.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.